2029, with changes being introduced gradually and transitional protection measures in place. For Braintree, the core spending power is expected to remain unchanged over the next 3 years. This contrasts with a national increase of 15% and an average of increase of 32% for Shire districts. In the short term, funding is more favourable than previously anticipated in the medium-term financial strategy. However, significantly, there will be a reduction in cash flow due to the loss of the New Homes bonus and the redistribution of business rate growth. The Council has secured ring-fenced funding to address homelessness, rough sleeping and domestic abuse, ensuring these critical areas have dedicated support. Additional funding has been allocated for extended producer responsibility for the 26-27 financial year. From April 2026, business rates will undergo a full re-evaluation. A transitional protection scheme will be introduced to help businesses adjust to these changes. There will be 5 different rating multipliers, including 3 new rates, 2 of which are specifically designed for the retail, hospitality and leisure sectors. Small business reliefs will continue to be available. Additional support has been announced for pubs and music venues, with new measures set to benefit these establishments over the next 3 years. The MTFS has been updated to reflect changes in the council tax base and revised forecasts for interest rates. This has led to adjustments in our Treasury Management income projections. The recent triennial review of the pension fund has revealed a surplus for Braintree. As a result, the employer payroll on cost will be reduced from 22.1% to 18.8%. Furthermore, a balance of 1.6 million from the pension reserve will be released to general balances. We are proposing additional funding for climate change initiatives, with a particular focus on expanding tree and bulb planting schemes. Moving on to our proposals for investing in services. Rising costs, including paying inflation, as well as some reductions in income, mean that we require over £2 million in additional funding simply to maintain our current level of services. This is a significant challenge, but one, as always, we are determined to meet. To ensure we continue to deliver for our residents, we are proposing ongoing investment of approximately £800,000. This funding will strengthen key areas such as community support, local priority initiatives, economic development, regulatory services, digital transformation, project delivery and enabling services. Each of these areas is vital to the wellbeing and prosperity of our district. Recognising the importance of strategic planning, we are allocating a one-off sum of £100,000 to support the development of our local plan. This will help us shape the future growth and development for our communities. Our commitment to environmental sustainability is unwavering. We are dedicating an extra £150,000 to climate change projects, with a particular focus on expanding tree and bulb planting schemes. These initiatives will contribute to a greener, healthier environment for all. And just on that point, that is one of the points that was taken away from this committee in November. I think one of the main subjects of conversation was in regards to tree planting. And even though, as part of the budget process, we don't normally allocate exactly what we are going to use the climate change reserve for, there was a conversation in regards that 30,000 of the climate change reserve had been allocated for tree planting. And I think the overarching sort of comments was, we felt that, or you felt as a committee and the wider membership, that might not be quite as much as we would like, or you would like. So we took that away. And I had initial conversations to start with Councillor Tom Cunningham as the relevant portfolio holder, and then following that with officers and the cabinet. And basically, what we decided to do, instead of putting £100,000 extra to climate change, we've decided to put £150,000, and part of that is increasing the 30,000 for tree planting to a £75,000 scheme or a package of tree planting and bulbs. So hopefully that will meet some support in regards to addressing that issue to support that point. But obviously, Councillor Cullinan is happy to, I would expect, to elaborate later if people want to discuss that point any further. We also want to foster community spirit and economic viability. To this end, the £255,000 will be invested in festive celebrations across our 3 main towns, encouraging footfall and bringing people together. Addressing homelessness and rough sleeping remains a priority. We are responding to these challenges by strengthening our housing service, including the creation of new and extending staffing roles to meet increasing demand and provide effective support. Our existing plans will deliver a new community centre in Witham, improvements to town centres and the most significant changes to household recycling in many years. We also continue to invest in community facilities supported by the Community Asset Fund. Just on the point, as I'm sort of referencing in regards capital investment, there has been a slight change in regards what was presented as part of the capital and the pipeline projects in November, where we had Enterprise House, which is a project or an asset of ours in Sybil Headingham, and we've moved that because we've taken back control of the asset, and there's a lot of work that's already been done within the property and asset management team. We've decided to move that from the pipeline of projects to the actual capital business and capital programme. It doesn't change things to a certain extent, because in regards to the pipeline, it's just making sure we're earmarking money for where we need money, but it's just to make that point that has been moved. When you look at the appendices, that's been moved from a pipeline project to a capital bid. The budget includes an additional 3.8 million for new investments. This will allow us to revitalise children's play areas, ensuring they remain safe and welcoming spaces, and to update both community and operational facilities. To maximise the benefits of new recycling collections, we are investing in improvements to the processing facility. This will generate income from recyclable materials, with funding provided by the packaging industry. Finally, we remain committed to supporting households in need. We will continue to assist eligible residents with adaptations to their homes, whether for those with disabilities or to ensure access to essential amenities like hot water and heating. These proposals demonstrate our dedication to building a resilient, inclusive and forward-looking district. Together we can ensure that our services remain strong and our communities thrive. Moving on to supporting communities and households, I'm proud to outline our ongoing commitment to supporting the people and communities of our district, especially during these challenging times. Firstly, I'm delighted to confirm that we will be freezing the Council's share of council tax for 26-27. This means the headline D rate will remain at £206.01, helping to ease the financial burden on households across our area. Recognising the ongoing pressures of the cost of living, we are allocating an additional £400,000 to our cost of living fund over the next 2 years. This will allow us to continue to provide targeted assistance to those who need it most. To ensure we have the right expertise in place, we are making permanent appointments to the roles of cost of living officer and community engagement officer. These positions will be central to our efforts to support residents and strengthen community ties. We're also maintaining our support for key partners, including Citizens Advice, the Museum Trust and parish councils. Their work is vital to the wellbeing and vibrancy of our communities. The Councillor Community Grant Scheme will be extended for a further 2 years with an increased allocation of £1,500 per annum. This will give councillors greater capacity to support local projects and initiatives that matter most to their constituents. Through the Local Council Tax Support Scheme, we are providing £8.5 million in support to low-income households, whether they are of working age or pension age. This is a significant investment in protecting our most vulnerable residents. In addition, we are making over £200,000 available through the Exceptional Hardship Fund and discretionary housing payments, offering further help to those facing acute financial difficulties. Finally, I can confirm there will be no change to the garden waste subscription charge. These measures reflect our determinations to stand by our residents, invest in our community to ensure that no one is left behind. Moving on to preparing for the future, as we look ahead, it is vital that we prepare our organisation and our community for the challenges and opportunities that lie before us. I would like to highlight the key steps we are taking to ensure we are fit for the future. We are allocating £650,000 over the next 2 years to our Fit for the Future transformation programme. This investment will focus on making our services more efficient and effective, while also ensuring that all our staff are equipped with the skills and tools needed to meet the demands of a changing environment. In addition, we are setting aside £1 million to strengthen our capacity and expertise. This will enable the Council to play a leading role in shaping local government reorganisation agenda for Greater Essex, while at the same time maintaining the high standard of service delivery that our residents expect. We're also committed to maintaining healthy general balances, keeping them above the minimum required level. This prudent approach recognises the ongoing uncertainty and risks we face, as well as the future funding requirements that will arise as we move towards establishing a new unitary council. In the meantime, these balances are being put to good use, generating investment income that supports the funding of our day-to-day services. Through these measures, we are not only safeguarding our financial resilience, but also ensuring that we are ready to adapt and thrive for the years ahead. Moving on to balancing the budget, we have identified over £2 million in additional income and savings. These gains come from a range of areas, including improvements in Treasury management, a positive outcome from the pension fund review, efficiencies in waste management, renegotiated leisure contracts, and increased income from various council services. We have also undertaken a thorough review of our fees and charges. The proposed increases are carefully calibrated to reflect the true cost of providing services, taking into account comparative data from other authorities, comply with statutory requirements and meet the needs of our community. In particular, we are raising charges for car parks to ensure they remain safe, reliable and well maintained, while also addressing the growing need for capital investment in these facilities. In addition, we are making use of a one-off balance of £300,000 from the collection fund. We are also strengthening our balances, recognising that there are still areas of risk and potential financial pressures that cannot yet be fully quantified or confirmed. This prudent approach will help us remain resilient in the face of uncertainty. While our medium-term financial strategy projections have improved, we must acknowledge that a funding gap remains. We are currently forecasting a shortfall of £365,000 in 2027-28, which is expected to rise to £2.2 million per annum by 2029-30. These measures demonstrate our commitment to sound financial management, ensuring we continue to deliver essential services while preparing for the challenges ahead. Council tax. Our strategy is to remain a low tax authority, ensuring that we continue to offer excellent value for our money for our residents. At present, our council tax rate is the fourth lowest in Essex and remains below the average for shire districts. We are proposing to freeze the council tax rate for the council's share of the overall bill, as I said earlier, keeping the Band D rate at £206.01 for the Braintree District Council element before precepts and parish and town council charges are applied. The referendum limit allows for an increase of either 3% or £5, whichever is higher. By choosing not to raise the rate by this limit, we are reducing the tax burden on households by £360,000. This approach demonstrates our commitment to financial prudence and our determination to support households during challenging times. By keeping council tax rates low and stable, we are helping to ease the cost of living for our residents while continuing to deliver essential services. The slide on the screen now is just an example of, or just to show members what we already have in place in regards to discounts or not discounts and empty home premiums for empty homes and the second home premiums. And then in regards to the next steps, as you can see on the screen, the early February we will receive the final local government finance settlement for 26-27. I just wanted to touch on that because the local government financial settlement at this stage is currently provisional. Now, normally in years we don't see a change between the provisional and the final settlement. However, I must stress that as this is the first multi-year settlement for many years, there is still the possibility for flexibility in that. And although we don't expect it, I need to flag there is still a possibility that between the provisional and the final things could change. And if there is some, if that does happen and they're significant, there may be some final changes that we may need to make to our budget. Though we're not anticipating that, but I just wanted to flag that in case in the coming sort of days and weeks there may be an update in regard to that. And then following on from tonight, we've got Cabinet next week in regards to the final proposals going to Cabinet. And then obviously we've got the full council where it's the final vote on the actual council and the budget and the council tax part of our the council tax recommendation as part of that our part of the council tax bill. And then as we done in previous years, but I know we definitely had a slide like this at the end of last year. It's just to flag up. I would have expected that I've probably heard if there is anything that members feel through the first scrutiny feel that things could be added or changed in regards what we are proposing. but I just wanted to sort of give a little bit of a flag up that ahead of the budget meeting next Thursday in this chamber, if there are any additional items or changes that any member would like to suggest, feel free to make the cabinet aware tonight, so we can either provide any feedback on the ideas or take it as a consideration of head of cabinet considering the budget report next week. And on that note, I will stop talking, Chairman, and I will hand back to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Bowers. Very, very well presented. I will now take questions from the committee members first, followed by those online members afterwards. Do committee members have any questions that they would like to ask? Councillor Taylor, please. Billy Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Bowers. If we were to raise council tax by 3% this year, how much would it reduce the MTFS by in the years 2027-28, where it shows there's a £365,000 shortfall?
Off the top of my head, I'll revert to Phil in a moment if we do that, because I think that was the consideration, and then that's the consideration in regards. I think every 0.5% you don't increase the council tax by. It's I don't really want to say a £60,000 loss to the council because it's taxpayers' money, but to the MTFS as we move forward, and then the multiplier to that as we go forward. I don't know if off the top of your head, Phil, you'd be able to provide exact.
Yeah, so I think, as was alluded to, by freezing tax, it reduced the burden by about 360,000. So it's going to be of that sort of order. So I guess that would, if you didn't do it, you would sort of be square there. But I suppose that's context to where, back in November we were looking at a shortfall in 27-28 of £1.6 million. So. And there is some additional growth that has been built into the MTFS, just recognising that we know that things will probably come along before we get to the 27-28 budget. So there is some additional provision in there for growth that hasn't, I suppose, been identified. So I think in that sense, the 365 is probably not an insurmountable figure to be addressed at this point.
And also, Chairman, just to add to that, within the cabinet report, you've got the cumulative as you add on year in regards what our gap is already, even with us freezing the council tax. So whether you freeze or you don't freeze, there is still going to be a gap depending on what you do. It affects obviously that total as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wrench, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, the support for communities and households are extremely positive. In particular, the freeze on council tax and the extension of the cost and living fund are clearly positive for residents. As you've just mentioned, there will still be an MTF, still shows a growing budget gap from 2027 onwards. It's also understandable that given that reserves are being repurposed to support LGR and the Fit for the Future programme, which I believe are sensible and necessary, which assumptions in the MTFS, though, carry the greatest risk of volatility, and how exposed are we if the repurposed reserves are no longer available to absorb any future shocks? So are we confident that we've managed that into the budget as well? Thank you.
I think we are as confident as we can be. As through over the years, we have managed our finances here very prudently, and sitting here as the portfolio holder responsible for finance, I definitely wouldn't be advocating a freezing council tax if we thought that was going to put the council at risk in connection to that. I think in regards the assumptions are within the report, within the budget. There are a lot of unknowns still, and then there are some sort of TBCs even like when you look at the capital programme, the capital pipeline in regard to leisure services and the like. But also one of the big unknowns is, even though we're putting aside this £1 million to maintain services and implementation of LGR, the full cost of LGR we don't know about at the moment, and we don't know what we're going to be asked for either. I feel that we are still there to sustain any shock. And I will ask Phil just to comment on that as the Section 151 officer. I feel we're well set up for that, but we have to be open. We have to put in the assumptions as best we know, but there are still some unknowns, and it's a little bit like volatility is the new normal at the moment. And when you think you've covered everything, something else comes to bite you, kind of thing. So I think we're aware as much as we can be at the moment. But I'll let Phil, as the Section 151 officer, comment on further on that.
Sure, yeah. So. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, as Councillor Bowers has outlined, there are some uncertainties that are reflected in the report. So some of the activities also naturally impacted by some economic events. So things can. We know the world can change quite quickly. So there will be aspects of the budget that will be susceptible to changes in that respect. I think just regarding the repurposing reserves, so that's reserves that we we'd previously allocated for other purposes, and now we've sort of reviewed that, and they're no longer required for that purpose. So that's where a lot of that reserve investment has come from. We are still holding, and our general balances will actually still be increasing as a result of this budget, and they are significantly above what we would regard a minimum level. So we're about 4 times above that. So. At this stage, yeah.
I think also to add on to that is, as you will see in the report in regards to the finance settlement, like Phil was alluding to, like the balances or money we're putting into balances for this upcoming budget is substantial. Though over the lifetime there is a loss on the MTFS, but also there's the piece that needs to be considered on that is the scrapping of the new homes bonus that we have used. We haven't used that to prop up day-to-day funding in this authority, and we've used it for certain things to grow the district and that kind of thing. So there is it's an advantageous position sort of for this year, but we need to consider that what has happened overall in regards to something that we've used on significant projects within the district. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Beavis, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, and I just wanted to thank the Cabinet and the officers for all of their hard work. In saying that, I also want to thank all of our volunteers all around our parishes, myself and Councillor Taylor included in that, who have worked over the Christmas period to try and balance our books. And we're in quite a fortunate position in Sybil Hedingham, but actually many parish councils don't have that privilege, and they're raising some of their taxes up to 26% this year, which I think is pretty tough actually for our parish councillors and our parishioners. So I'm still struggling quite a bit actually with the Christmas tree contribution of 255,000, and I say this because over the years I've had it said to me as a chairman of my parish council that if I want a new swing in the playing field, then jolly well raise your precept and pay for it yourself. Actually, we're doing that. And I find it hard that Houston Town Council and Witham Town Council that have precepting powers are being given money for Christmas, and actually our parishes aren't. And I think it would have been much better and much fairer to have split that money between all of our town and parish councils and given everybody something for Christmas. So I'm just struggling with the principle of that. I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just struggling with the principle of it. I'd just like to understand where the line is drawn between the £1 million that we're giving for what I call transformation, LGR, and the fit for funding transformation. Because to me they're both sort of transformation, and I just wanted to understand sort of where the boundaries are on both of those. We've spoken previously in previous budgets about something called, is it Pride in the District? And I haven't heard, I might have missed it in the report, so apologies if I have, but I'd just like to understand whether that's still there and what's going into Pride. On the tree and bulb planting, previously, and again I've been one of them out on a Sunday morning planting bulbs for the parishes, Are we going to get the opportunity again? Are all parishes going to get a sack of bulbs, or how are you looking to do that? Because that's what's happened previously. The 100k for local plan, what's that actually going to be spent on specifically? And everything else. Oh, I am extremely pleased to see, and thank you very much indeed, the funding for Enterprise House, and I'll say no more, but I'm really grateful for the work you've done with Councillor Taylor and myself on that. But generally, I'm really pleased with the budget. I think, once again, you've demonstrated a balanced budget, a fair budget, a budget that's delivering, and I can see all the hard work that really has gone into it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Beavis. What I will do is I will defer to Councillor Graham Butland to answer about the festive lights. I'll defer to Councillor Tom Cunningham in regards to the LGR and the transformation reserve point and the bulbs, and then Councillor Gabrielle Spray will take on the point about the 100,000 in regards to local plan funding. Thank you, Chairman.
That's fine, thank you. Yes, Councillor Butland.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, through you, Chairman. Thank you to Councillor Beavis for the kind comments about the budget, which I think is something which the authority as a whole can be proud of. On specifically the festive lights, actually I think she and I have long been supporters of small businesses, and we see the festive lights as part of supporting small businesses, not just putting lights up because they look pretty, but actually to encourage people from within Braintree, Halston and Whittam and the neighbouring villages to come in to the main towns at Christmas to support our local businesses. The more that we can get in, the better that will be. And we do know that our local businesses have experienced and are experiencing some very tough times, particularly with some changes over business rates, etc. And so looking ahead, that is the main purpose of it, is to support our local businesses, not just to put something up because it would look nice. So I hope she would look at it perhaps in a slightly different angle as to what it is trying to achieve with that. Okay?
Thank you very much. I will defer to Suzanne Bennett to explain a little bit more the differentiation between Fit for Future and transformation funding. But in terms of the Pride in Place, what we have in the budget is a continuation and the safeguarding of the additionality that we put into the budget last year for things like rapid response, litter picks, rapid response, fly tipping, those levels of additional operational work to make the place look neater and tidier. And I think that's a common theme through all levels of local government at the moment, making the place look better. The County Council, through highways, put an additional nearly £50 million in over the last 2 years, and I think parish councils, when they're going through their budget preset, putting additionality. I know we are we have the last couple of years anyway, at least in Great Notley, and looking to the same additional resources to deal with the small maintenance problems before they become big maintenance problems, and therefore with the overall objective of making the place look neater and tidier. So that's what that is. It's a sort of a continuation of that additionality. And with regards to the transformation and transition funding, through you, Chair, I'm going to hand over to Suzanne, who will explain it more concisely than I will. That's for sure. Thank you.
So, yes, as you say, Councillor Beavis, effectively local government reorganisation and our own transformation programme, Fit for the Future, are both about where we need to be in the future and how we're going to get there. But they are two quite different programmes. There is some interdependencies within them. The Fit for the Future programme is our own internal programme that's getting us ready for transition into LGR. We have complete control over that. We direct it. Working across officers and members, whereas the LGR is the wider programme piece that is happening across the Essex system to make sure that we can move through the transition into the new successor authorities on the 1st of April in the best, most efficient and risk minimised way that we can. So there will be a bigger project that sits centrally, as Councillor Bowers mentioned earlier, that will cost many more millions of pounds, I would suggest that we will be able to contribute to. But we will need to put people into that project, we will need to backfill, we need to ensure that services are kept running, and that is what we'll be using that LGR reserve for. So two quite separate pieces there. I hope that clarifies the point for you.
Thank you, Chairman. And through you, thank Councillor Beavis for her question on the £100,000 for local plan. She will be aware, because both of us were very much around when the current local plan was developed. So she will be aware that we do need specialist reports, in particular to support our evidence base, and this often requires the use of consultants. So that additional resource is intended to fund those additional resources. It doesn't mean that we're going to use the whole 100,000. We'll be as prudent as we can be, but there is no doubt that some external resources may be needed in order to produce the local plan to the standard that we are aiming for. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Ramage, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Yeah, there's a couple of points. I mean, as usual, I've kind of put lots of questions down, and quite often they all get asked before I get to them. But a couple of issues which I wanted to ask. You made reference to the pension fund, where it's going to part. I think it was 100k. Was it going to be transferred to general funds of balances? My perception of a pension fund is is something which is fixed in that place and doesn't get moved out of it. You know, I just want to know the mechanics of how that works. Does that make sense?
Just to clarify, it's 1.6 million, not 100,000. Yeah, but I'll defer to Phil if he wants to give a bit more flavour on regards to that.
Yeah, so yeah, generally the costs of the pension fund, the employer, as the employer, and our contributions are generally fixed for a 3-year period. And so what has just happened is that sort of triennial review, and that is now setting the employer rates for the period April 26 through to sort of March 29 for that 3-year period. So the rates dropped from 22.1% down to 18.8%, and part of that is about preparing the tax raising bodies for LGR, so that the aim is everybody, all the tax raising bodies are on the same contribution rate by the time they get to the point of potential transition for LGR. So for the next 3 years, that will remain at that would remain at that level. That reduction does have a significant beneficial impact on the budget. In the report it says 578,000 reduction in our payroll costs, essentially as an on-cost to our payroll. And in the past we have had to make additional contributions, so we have what they call secondary contributions, depending on where the position of the fund lies. Because the fund is in a surplus at this point, we don't need to make that secondary contribution, so those provisions we've been making in previous years is what we're releasing back into the general balances, which is the 1.6 million that's referred to.
Chair, thank you. Yeah, just clarification on the Whittam Community Centre. Can I just confirm that, are we talking about the community centre that's in Gershwin Boulevard? We are, because that is now going to be taken over responsibility of the Town Council.
We are talking about the same community centre,
Yeah,
which will be taken over by Whittam Town Council. But
Yeah.
there's been a lot of funding from this authority, and Section 106 money that's gone towards that, and extra funding in regards to bill costs and that kind of thing. But it is that facility, yes.
Yeah. Footnote to that, they're coming on well. They've got a roof on the building already, so it's quite good. What else was it? Oh yeah, the extra support for pubs. Now that's a topical thing that's going on in the national government at the moment. How does that work with what the government is doing, i.e. they're taking 15% off, is it the figure? how does that work with what we're doing as such? Is that an additional thing to that?
Thanks, Councillor Ramage. Phil will correct me if I'm wrong in this. I think what happens is we sort of take the hit on initially on that, but then we are expected to get recompense through government for the loss, as it were, to the authority. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So, yeah.
Councillor Holland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to sit here and wholeheartedly welcome this budget that's before us today. And so, as a lot of us have already raised, what for me are the most important points, I wanted to focus on some slightly different ones. First of all, I wanted to thank the team for the press release that came out that announced the initial proposals and what have you. Is very, very useful to people like me and enabled me to tour around my parishes. I have several because I live in the wilds, and tell them what for me was the good news. And all I can tell you is that it was well received. So I was pleased to be vaguely popular as a result of that. So thank you for that. One of the things I think is quite important is it's good to feel this committee is making a difference. I think that's quite understandable. So the issues such as the tree planting funding, to me, is really important. It shows that this is a listening authority and responds to what is fundamentally democratic input and what have you. So that I think is to be greatly welcomed, as I do increasing resourcing around housing, because I know from my residents this is an important and growing area of activity, and it's good to know that we're responding to that growth in that way. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to congratulate the writers of the slides that we've had before us this evening also, because and I think this is important, and I want so I do have a question in all my rambling, and it's this: would the members of Cabinet agree with me that the wording around the 255k support for festive celebrations is a good wording? And so I'm going to tell you what it means to me, because we live in most definitely a multicultural district, and Christmas isn't the only thing people celebrate, right? And in order to celebrate in the towns, I think it's a slightly different issue, and also perhaps the major villages, so I'm not trying to be funny here. You need infrastructure in place. You need screw eyes in walls and electricity sockets and goodness knows what else to facilitate it. You can't just do it. And so, and that sort of infrastructure would be really valuable, no matter whether you were celebrating the Festival of Light or Christmas or what have you. There is much more to it than just Christmas. And there's no doubt in my mind that doing these things well raises the morale and well-being of the entire district. And so to me, things like this are important. So I thoroughly welcome that, with my interpretation of what those words mean as being a much broader issue. I also wanted to very much welcome the increase in councillors' community grants and what have you. And the reason why I think that's really important is because it allows us on this authority on the ground to have an understanding on a much more granular level of where there is need for small projects to be supported. And I personally find that's really valuable around what to me is one of the most important community building assets that we support, which are village halls. We don't pay for them, but what I find is that there will be things that need sorting out, which are not hugely expensive, but for them it's actually a struggle. You know, I represent places where you've got 160 people and they've got a village hall. And there's no way that they can just find money here and there to do things. And the parish council's precept is so small in these places that it doesn't work. So this to my mind is important. So I very much welcome the increase, and I can assure you that in my ward it will get spent. I suspect that will be true in most of the others as well. I want to seem vaguely picky, Councillor Bowers. On page 5, on your slide 5, you said something different to what appears here, so I'm just seeking a bit of clarity. You said with respect to core spending power, your words were that the national figure was plus 15% and Shire district average was plus 32, and the slide says 3.2, so just clarity around that.
That was me error, not the slide. As you said, the slides are written very well. Yeah, no, it's 3.2%.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Lastly, in my rambling, I really do believe that it's important that we properly fund the development of our local plan. Of all the things that our district does, out in the wilds, as I say, where the communities I represent, the two most important things that impact them are our work on planning and our work on waste services. That's not to trivialise any of the others or make them seem unimportant. It's just that that's kind of where we're seen most, along with hopefully planting some trees in the coming year. And the local plan is our way of protecting place and making sure that as best we can manage it, development is appropriate to place and retains the treasured benefits and assets of the places that we all live in. And so for me, and given the fact this is, presumably we won't be doing this more than once every 5 years going forward, this is important investment in protecting our places. And so I heartily welcome that. And with that, you'll be pleased to hear I'm finished. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the Cabinet members.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure there's too much to answer there. I guess just welcome the comments and agree wholeheartedly with you. With the Council of Community Grants is a great point out. Something a small value, I don't know, £100 or something. You know, really small amounts can be sort of really changing for certain groups, isn't there? And that kind of thing. And also, I think with having the more money available to councillors, especially councillors that have got, you referenced earlier, more than maybe one parish council or more different communities and that kind of thing, you know, it's definitely good. I guess in regards to the festive lights point, I totally take on board and agree with you in regards to that. It means different things at the end of the day, but I think the point, and I think obviously Councillor Butler referenced in regards to why we're doing it, is that piece for the community and that kind of thing, not just some bright lights up and that kind of thing. In regards what the Cabinet feel, I don't know if Councillor Ritchie wants to, as the Cabinet member responsible for the festive lights part and that kind of thing, wants to sort of elaborate on that point you was asking. But unless I've missed anything, I don't think there's any specific question that you was asking. But I just welcome your comments on a number of things. Just to go back on the slight or the error in regards to what I said, and this is just connected to that point. I guess it's just maybe just to tease out that bit of the point that is making in regards the funding for us as an authority and the core spending power. I think that the bigger point on regards the district average, the Shire district average of the 3.2%, the national average of 15%, whereas we're going to be flat over 3 years. I think that's a key thing to bear in mind, even though like the next year in regards the budget looks better than we thought. Over the longer term, we're kind of worse off, and when you compare, we're going to be flat over 3 years compared to the national average of 15% and the Shire average of 3.2%. Is very mindful to be aware of that point. But I'll defer to Councillor Ritchie on the point of the festive lights.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Holland. I fully agree about the Christmas lights. Christmas lights aren't cheap to maintain. With anything electrical installation perspective, there's a compliance and a regulatory points that we have to pick up as well. So I think the allocation is a reasonable spend for a community benefit, not just for a Christmas benefit. And let's be honest, when it is Christmas time, it is nice to draw those out from the wider communities to the towns to carry out their Christmas shopping and to gather together and celebrate our local churches, local institutes, etc. And let's not forget that the benefit it will draw for the economy as well. I think I said it at the last meeting. Many of our smaller businesses rely on the month of December to carry them through for a financial year. So we'll make no apologies for trying to do all we can as a council to push the economy. And if it means putting up some Christmas lights that adds that additional draw, then I'm more than happy to support that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Billy Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. According to a council press release, the New Homes Bonus funded initiatives such as the cost of living fund in the tune of £1 million. So how will the administration address the gap now that the New Homes Bonus comes to an end this financial year?
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Yeah, it's a very important point, and it's one that I was sort of referencing within my presentation, and this point in regards about New Homes Bonus being scrapped, and what we have used it for before. Because you're very right in regards to the New Homes Bonus. We've used it for things like the Whittam Community Centre that was referenced. We've used it for things like Manor Street regeneration and the Community Asset Fund. At the moment, we're doing a lot of work on that. You know, so there's a lot. We've used it not to prop up the finances, and this is the point in regards when we look at the MTFS in regards what we now have is we do have a surplus, as it were, for this coming year that's helped out for the coming year. But like I say, over the mid to long term, we've got a gap. We just need to consider what that means for us, and where we need to consider what we have used New Homes Bonus for in the past, and what may still need to be done in the district. The one thing we don't want to do is rush to do something, but also there's, as has been referenced by other members, about the unknowns and the unavoidable pressures that we will have going forward. It's definitely a sort of a negative for us as an authority how we have used New Homes Bonus, because I could read kind of a list in regards of what we have done over the years using that money for the benefit of our residents and the growth of the district. So we just got to consider about how we best use the resources still available to us, even though the actual part of the New Homes Bonus, which was a good scheme, and kind of sort of in regards, residents will see housing growth, but at least something kind of, and I'm not going to sit and say all infrastructure come with housing, but in regards pieces that we could do in the district aside from that, and some of the stuff I've read, but also things like cost of living and even sort of transformation and things like that can improve the district. But it's a good point that we will have to consider as we move forward in the next couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just clarify, as far as the Christmas, etc. situation, I mean, I'm a town councillor in Whittam, and obviously we have a budget for what we currently have as decorations, etc. How does that work as far as what you're prepared to help towards, whatever is there an allocation of money to the town council in that respect, or how does that actually work? Because obviously we have a budget on the town council for that sort of thing as well. So I'm thinking, is there going to be a doubling up of something here, or what? But just the mechanics of it.
Thank you. Chairman will probably have to answer this as much as I can. Basically, we have written to both town councils with the offer of the up to £30,000 each over the 2 years, and basically with a demonstration in regards how the town councils would wish to spend that money, because obviously Braintree does not have a town council. Whittam and Housestead do, and money is already sort of used on that, but it didn't seem right doing an investment for Braintree, not doing something for either two main towns. So the fundamentals are the town council have been written to in regards to that offer, and we will see what comes through that. Both town councils have shown an interest in that offer, you know, so which is not unexpected. But yeah, that's basically sort of the mechanics how that's going to work going forward.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. You know, it's just it's welcome, but it's just knowing how it works. Just one other question. Regarding waste subscriptions, how is that holding up? Because you know we've been running now for what, the second year, is it? Is it proving to be a good return on what we hoped it would be, or is it still flattened out, or what?
In regards the subscription numbers have reduced slightly, which would be expected because the first year was on an early bird. But from my point of view, and I'll let Councillor Cunningham give his views, but it's better than we would have expected on a second year. And because it's obviously, we had the early bird, the actual covering costs and the finances are better because obviously it's the second year is like the full cost, but then we also need to take into consideration the hundreds of thousands of pounds that service cost us, or that service cost us to provide as well. So I think it's a success story in regards the demand for it. People still want it. People are still signing up for it. But in regards to the numbers, they're not too far off the first year. I don't know, Councillor Cunningham, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, no, I think your Councillor Bowers, Chairman, is absolutely right in what he says. And we've got some updated statistics. I'm not sure, do they come through the performance management report? No, they don't. If not, we just wanted to verify a couple of things, but we'll circulate that to members in the upcoming days because it's very interesting to see the trends on some of these things. But I think the overall message is yes, some drop off because we've now gone through the first full years without an early bird incentive, but still very, very satisfactory in terms of numbers subscribing and the saving to the organisation.
Just one footnote, with the new system that's coming out in April, will that affect anything, do you feel?
I'm, without wishing to sound evasive or in any way tricky, or time alone will tell, I think. I am confident that compared to many other authorities that are going through a similar transition, and it's worth being aware that the majority, if not all of the Suffolk authorities, I'm not quite sure about Ipswich, they tend to be a bit of an outlier in Suffolk anyway, but are committing to the type of waste collection service that we are. So that includes our neighbouring districts of Baber. We have started a lot earlier in terms of setting the policy, the analysis work, the heavy lifting, the formulating of the policy and the operational approach, but most importantly, the communication and the dialogue with the residents. So whilst understandably has been start to roll out, there could be a bit of additional confusion and additional customer service inquiries. We're ready for that, and we've got the capacity in the organisation to deal with that. I think we will be able to go through this period of transition in June relatively smoothly, and we're certainly better equipped to deal with any issues before they become real problems, certainly better equipped than comparable authorities in Suffolk who are implementing on the same timeline but have started much later.
And I'd like to say thanks to the team that's doing that, because it's not an easy task, I should imagine. I think that should be noted, Chair.
Can I just, sorry, Chair. Can I just follow on from what I was saying and what Councillor Cunningham was saying about garden waste? I think the key word he used there was savings, because even though the numbers still look good and it's not doing an early bird offer, I know some of the continual questions we've kind of had is about making money from this service, and we can't make money from this service and that kind of thing. So it is about savings in regards what the service would cost us, not just because there might be added revenue. It's only things that we're making money which we're not allowed to do and we don't do. It's about the savings within the services that are provided by this authority. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Beavis was indicating next, But can I just remind the committee, we are here tonight to scrutinise the budget report. I know it's great to have the Cabinet in front of us to go slightly off track at times, but we have got other members online that are waiting to come in as well, so if we can try and stay focused. Councillor Beavers, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask the question, having listened very carefully to the basis of the celebration lights. We spoke at the last scrutiny meeting about planting in Braintree Town Centre and recognising actually that's something else that people have said that they would like. And I thought at the last meeting we said we were going to do something. So is that in the budget now to put some more pots and plants into Braintree Town Centre? And my second question is, I was really quite surprised to see the press release by Braintree District Council on the budget. I really was quite shocked when I saw that, and I thought, hang on a minute, we've not gone through scrutiny yet, we've not gone to Cabinet, we've not gone to full council. And normally we publish after, and I was really quite surprised, and I just wondered who pushed the button and why. Thank you.
I will defer to Councillor Cunningham in a moment on about the town centre point, but we have done this year like we do every year. When that Cabinet report goes out, there is a press release that goes out with that Cabinet report, because it obviously comes here first, and then the Cabinet report comes to Cabinet next week. It's the same report that's used for this committee that's used for Cabinet and is used for full council, but it doesn't preempt. It is what the final proposals are. It doesn't preempt that that's what's happening. So the press release that you will see following the full council, whatever the decision is on the budget, will not be the same press release that's gone out. We've done exactly as we have done in previous years, just to clarify that point. Thank you.
Yes, and just to assure Councillor Beavers, additional planting will be carried out in the town centre. BDC working with many community groups as well to unlock some of that, so that additionality will be there in the town centre.
Councillor Billy Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. My final two questions. Councillor Bowers, it was in the spirit of the garden waste. Could a 3% increase in council tax entirely fund the garden waste programme? That was the first question. I don't think it can. I'm not going to answer the question for you, but it was in response your response to that question. Secondly, I guess back to the MTFS. The rate of inflation has increased to 3.4% in the last 12 months to December 2025. A council tax freeze sounds appealing, and it's one that I support, but being as a role of scrutiny, is this really the right decision given the MTFS figures? Is this short-term gain, but potentially setting ourselves up for a fall in the long term?
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. In regards to the first point, not to sound like I'm just shutting the question down, the answer is no. It wouldn't cover, but then also the consideration is in regards all of our other services and that kind of thing, and even in the slides tonight about sort of £2 million savings to keep, in regards to the train on the track, as it were, and continuing services as they are, and then in regards the council tax freeze, how the funding settlement or multi-year funding settlement is done, and the core spending power and the funding floor is on the expectation from government that councils will go to the top level of council tax, which is obviously 3% or £5, whichever's like, and ahead of it without sort of doing a referendum. And I think the consideration for us is even if we increase council tax this year or didn't increase council tax this year, we would still have a funding gap. Yes, the gap is going to be slightly bigger because we are freezing council tax, but we also need to take into considerations of why we're here and for our residents. And when we're looking at one of the major things that we have done, and you referenced it earlier with regards to New Homes Bonus about the cost of living fund, and we're putting another £400,000 into that, we're making the officer position in that full time. We're looking at community engagement officers, so we're doing as much as we can for our community. In regards, the settlement was a little bit better than we was expecting, though, like I said, like for like, we haven't done terribly well. But when you take into that consideration, can we do this for our residents? I think the answer was we can. It went through all the sort of internal scrutiny of what does that mean for our finances, and getting the confirmation from corporate director and Phil as the Section 151 officer in regards what we can do and what we can't do. And like I said earlier, I would never sit here as why I'm the cabinet member for financing this authority and put this authority at risk. But why we can do something for our residents, we need to do what as much as we possibly can to support our residents, and that's what we're doing. Thank you.
You've won me over.
Councillor Cannon.
Yes, and I would just say, without sort of rehashing some of the profound discussions we've had over garden waste over a decade, actually, on this authority, certainly I can remember it lasting more than a decade. We've got to remember that garden waste collection is not a universal service. There is a large percentage of our residents who do not require a garden waste service, and therefore it falls down to that wider argument of whether you look to keep the council tax down as a statutory charge, as opposed to reducing some of the charges that are discretionary. For example, not everyone will use the car parks. It's always that difficult balancing act.
Thank you. There was just a few points I wanted to add before we do open it up. I'm extremely pleased that there is a ring fencing for the homelessness and rough sleeping and domestic abuse. I think that is something that does need to be taken seriously and is being done so. And also, as the cabinet member touched on, the fact that the two jobs that have been in the authority just lately are being made permanent, also something that must be very welcomed. I do share quite easily Councillor Taylor's concerns about not doing anything with the council tax when we know that there are deficits coming. I think most people in this room know that I'm a very slow and cautious and plodding investor and spender, so it does sit a bit difficult to me. And even if we was to just sort of put 1% on and increase the heating in the leisure centres and stop people from Braintree complaining to me that swimming pools are too cold and things like that, but that's something to look at for another day. And are we using our assets properly and not actually making savings or investments for when the sun is shining rather than when it's raining, as I think George Osborne said in the past. But the local grants, as Councillor Holland said, when you can give £250 to a local scout group, that makes a very big difference to them, and it's a lot easier than trying to go through all the bureaucracy of them doing it, but it means that they go to camp. So yes, I'm very grateful for your presentation this evening, and well done for the first half of the questions. Now we have all those online.
Thank you, Chairman. We don't currently have any online, but perhaps if you'd like to open it up to the members in the chamber, then we'll come back to those online. Thank you.
Sorry, those in the chamber. I was putting you all in one instead. Councillor Prime.
Thank you, Chair. Just following on from Councillor Ramage's question about 15% U-turn by this government on hospitality. It's also reported that more high street premises are looking for a U-turn on their business rates. How much of a risk have we put into the budget with this possible U-turn again?
Thank you, Councillor Prime. I think it's probably relevant to my previous answer in regards what the decision was yesterday, because the expectation is that the government would fund it, and that's how we would work with that premise. Thank you.
And anybody else? No. Does anybody that's online have any questions? We haven't got no notification. Councillor Diana Garrett, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's incredibly generous to offer a freeze on the council tax, and I very much support that. And whilst my suggestion might not be possible this year, I would like it to be considered perhaps for the future. Some councils are now offering a reduction for families who are facing terminal illness whilst someone in the household is undergoing end-of-life care. I know it's a particularly difficult time for people, and I wondered if that's something that could be looked at, if not now, for the future. So for those people who are already receiving local council tax support, some councils are offering an entitlement of 100% relief from the council tax bills if someone they live with is receiving end-of-life care. So I just wanted to put that into the melting pot, please, and ask that that be considered at some point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, but before I give it to the Cabinet, I just wonder if we as a council do make sure that we get as much information as we possibly can. There's always going to be someone that misses it, because my own mum who lived with me at the time actually died of dementia, and once she was diagnosed, I was actually given a 25% council tax reduction while she stayed with me. So I think that's just something for reference, that to all the road shows and everything we do, we need to get out as much as possible.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Yeah, I note your comments, and we'll take them away. But just to make the point that we do have our exceptional hardship fund that we do manage on a case-by-case basis. So we do have some sort of safeguards in there with these sort of situations. But your points are noted, and I'll take them away. Thank you.
Yeah, could I just finally ask everybody in the room and online, is there any further questions that they would like to ask? Right. Sorry, members, I've just lost my place. Right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cabinet and members. Committee members, we are asked to note the report. Please, can I ask that the report is noted? That is unanimous. Thank you very much, members. The report has been noted. Before I proceed with the next agenda item, I would like to thank members of the Cabinet, members in the audience, and those members in attendance online. Phil Myers and the Management Board for their attendance this evening. You are all welcome to lead the meeting at this point if you so wish. For those in attendance remotely, we will now close the online meeting. Should you wish to continue observing the meeting, you can do so via the Council's YouTube channel. Thank you all very much, and if you wish to stay, you're welcome, but please feel free to go. We'll just wait a moment before proceeding for people to leave. Item number 6 of our agenda, which is the second quarter performance report. Members, the report is set out on pages 5 to 52 of our agenda and will be presented by Tom Williams, Corporate Performance Coordinator. Tom and Tracy, as always, thank you for your patience, and please can I invite you to present your report.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. The Council keeps a record of its performance, which is reported to Cabinet for every quarter for consideration and noting. This is the second quarter performance report, which was presented to Cabinet on the 15th of December, so relatively speaking, this is hot off the presses. The performance in the second quarter, or rather at the end of the second quarter, was broadly in line with expectations, with most projects underway and progressing well. 29 projects were on track at the end of the second quarter. 5 projects completed in the second quarter, where the Safer Streets programme concluded in Housted. A sale was agreed for plots 5 through 8 at Horizon 120. Arrangements were made to sell the soil with the plots at Horizon 120. The North Essex Council's Climate Partnership published its risk register, and the Essex Flood Guide was published and promoted by the Council. 4 projects had an amber status, which were the development of a renewable energy supplementary planning document, where resources are focused on delivery of the local plan and there is uncertainty around future renewable energy policies. The development of a waste supplementary planning document, where additional time to make all required considerations will likely result in an extension of the target date. The delivery of the Green Skills programme, where a lower than expected uptake by learners has resulted in a reduced capacity for the programme. And support of school access to university open days, where the university capacity to facilitate the open day has been more limited and conditional than expected. 1 project had a red status, where the regeneration works to Whittam and Housestead town centres were still under discussion with Essex Highways to agree all aspects of adoptable works before the programme of works could be agreed. And further detail for all projects, regardless of their status, can be seen within the full report. 7 performance indicators had met or exceeded their target at the end of the quarter, and 9 had not met their target. For those which had not met their target, 5 had missed by less than 5%, and 4 had missed by greater than 5%. The indicators which missed their target by less than 5% were the percentage of household waste sent for recycling, where a reduced tonnage of garden waste had resulted in a lower outturn. Kilograms of residual waste per household, where despite an improvement against last year, a new and lower target was not achieved. Percentage of fly tips cleared within 24 hours, where increased time to gather evidence prior to clearing had caused a number of breaches. The council tax collection rate, where minor variations against last year had resulted in a reduced outturn. And business rates collection rate had a reduction against target, but it is expected to be on track by the end of the year, as that minor variation year to year is expected. The following performance indicators have missed their target by more than 5%. This was the number of affordable homes delivered, where delays in completions had resulted in a lower outturn for the second quarter. The percentage of disabled facilities grants approved within timescale, where applications affected by funding challenges last year were being approved during the second quarter reporting period. The percentage of inquiries resolved at the first point of contact in the customer service centre, where there is a continued need to transfer complex calls through to specific departments where the customer needs a more detailed response. And the time taken to process housing benefit claim changes, where the local council tax support scheme has changed the profile of cases, resulting in fewer but more complex cases. And as always, full details on performance indicator outturn can also be found within that respective section of the full report. The review of the financial performance and projection for the year at the end of the second quarter showed an overall positive variance of £1.5 million, compared to a £1.1 million positive variance reported in the first quarter. The main reason for the change in forecast is due to the projected increases in income and also extended periods of staffing vacancies across services. Treasury management income is projected to outperform budget due to higher cash balances and higher for longer interest rates. Sustainable development is projecting a positive variance, mainly due to staffing vacancies, but also from overachievement of planning related income. There are also positive variances within operations and ICT services, which have primarily arisen due to staff vacancies, and additionally there has also been an increase in operational income. Asset management, environment, housing and strategic investment are all projecting adverse budget positions greater than 5% and £50,000 of their budget. Both asset management and environment are forecasting a shortfall in income, and there is additional staffing costs anticipated in environment due to ongoing interim staffing and building control. Housing is projecting an overspend on staffing related costs due to service demand pressures and the need to cover unplanned absences through agency staff. Cost pressures in relation to temporary housing and nightly lets are being met from government grants and subsidy. Strategic investment is projecting an overspend due to increased staffing costs and a reduction in service costs rechargeable to capital projects as the team supports a wider range of project delivery. Following confirmation of the pay award, service budgets have been updated and the in-year cost pressure is being met from overachieved Treasury management income. Significant adjustments were identified and included in the initial budget proposals for 26-27 after the Q1 review had been completed. With the updated forecast, a further review will be undertaken to identify any ongoing risks and opportunity that may still need to be reflected in the final budget. Capital expenditure to the end of the second quarter was £2.6 million, with the main areas of spend being on the Whittam Community Centre, a new 3G artificial pitch in Whittam, planned maintenance on council-owned property and community assets. There are several projects where budgeted spend is now expected to slip into next year, but there are also several areas where projects are progressing faster than was originally assumed, bringing forward spend against budgets originally profiled into 26-27. An underspend on the Causeway House refresh project has been included in forecasting available capital resources for the 26-27 budget, along with other additional capital resources generated in the reporting period. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Do members have any questions, please? If there are no questions, we are asked to note this report. Please can I take the report as noted? Thank you. Thank you, members. Thank you, members. We will now proceed with agenda item number 7, which is the decision planner for the 1st of February 26 to the 30th of April 26. Members, we are asked to note the decision planner for the period just mentioned. Before we do this, do members have any issues that they would like to raise in respect of the planner? No, right. Thank you, members. So do I have members' agreement that the decision planner has been noted? Thank you. Thank you, members. That has been done. Therefore, there is no urgent business this evening, so that concludes the public session of the meeting this evening. The next meeting of the committee will take place on the 11th of March 2026. I will therefore close this meeting of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee at 8:38. Thank you all for your attendance this evening, and to those watching the broadcast via the channel's YouTube channel, have a good evening. Thank you very much, members. Meeting closed.